This episode is brought to you by Camp Becca. Cuddles and Care, dog walking, and pet sitting, known for its 5-star service, is a trusting name in Morristown, Bedminster, Chester, and Mendham areas. They provide a wide range, including dog walking, cat care, plus overnight pet sitting, doggy daycare, and gentle grooming. Utilizing technology, they offer real-time updates and photos, videos with GPS and tracking. Specializing in caring for sweet pampered dogs, their commitment is to meet the unique needs of each pet with professional nurturing care, ensuring they feel cherished and safe. So follow Camp Becca Cuddles. Welcome back to Keeping It Juicy with Brianne from Satin Daul's Boudoir. And Daul is your last name.
Daul is my last name.
D-A-U-L.
Yes.
I just, like, when you figure that out where you're like, this is amazing.
Yeah. Well, it was kind of funny. So, like, I did family photography for years. So I didn't want to combine the businesses. I wanted to keep them separate. So my family business was Dollhouse. So then my friend was like, oh my gosh, what about Satin Dolls? And I was like, oh my gosh. And we can just tap into the Jersey connection with
It's amazing.
The Sopranos and the Bada Bing and Satin Dolls and all that. And it just, the name writes itself, you know?
It's literally
like,
amazing.
It's perfect.
Amazing. So that being said, jump into what you do, where they can find you, what town you're in, all that.
So I am a boudoir photographer. I have been now for 3.5 years. I am shooting out of a studio in Boonton. I have my own private studio. I love it. I love Boonton. The town is fantastic. The people and the support are incredible. And I always joke that they basically will have to blow me up to get me out of that building. Like, I'm living there forever. It's just the perfect space and the perfect town, perfect community. Been shooting, like I said, for 3.5 years. Mom of 3, live here in Morris County. And it's just a crazy but fun life.
Yeah, that's awesome. And what's your Instagram handle?
Instagram, you can find me at Satin Dolls Boudoir. And then same on Facebook and Twitter, but not really hanging there these days.
Twitter anyway. And it's SATINDAULS.
Boudoir is BOUDOIR. I always hesitate when I'm writing it because I'm like, oh, am I spelling it right? But
yeah. It's one of those words.
BOUDOIR, yes.
Awesome. So we met, a few years ago via Instagram.
Yeah.
I'm sure, I have a lot of Instagram friends. And then was it a year ago or more than that? More than that. Probably 1.5 2 years ago that Brianne shot a boudoir shoot for me.
The infamous
boudoir gate. Hashtag boudoir gate. And now it's my annual Christmas gift to all my followers to post a boudoir picture of myself. Really a gift for everybody. And I found the experience to be just so deeply fulfilling. And I'm a pretty open person, like sexually, and I could walk around naked right now. I wouldn't care. And I think that a lot of people do get a little bit scared, a little bit timid, but you make everybody so comfortable. You literally don't care about, you touch the booties, touch the, anything. And it's everything is just, the body is just such an amazing thing. And everyone should feel comfortable in their own skin. And you do a lot of, for brides as gifts or really just for themselves, confidence, self-esteem, all of that stuff. And someone comes in and does your hair, your makeup, all of the outfits are there, like 100,000s.
It might be. I haven't done a count in a while.
8,000 at least.
We're just going to say it's 1,000.
1,000 pieces of lingerie and different things. And I just remember at the end of my shoot, we put like I don't know what it was. It was like a...
Oh, the body jewelry.
Body jewelry.
It was like a collar chain thing with like fun glittery tassels.
Just like down my chest. I don't have nipples as a reminder. And I poured champagne down it. And it was just amazing. And the photos and we'll show some right now, just truly amazing. I highly recommend it for a gift for your husband, but really as a gift to yourself.
Yeah.
I have it on my phone. There's an app and I look at it sometimes and I'm like, you're a
you
sexy
know?
bitch.
Yes.
So I highly recommend that you do it. And so as always, I say this podcast is about keeping it real, keeping it juicy, keeping it raw. Maybe we can help somebody. So recently you shared with me that you don't speak with your mother anymore. So that's for 8 plus 9, 10 years. And I'd love for you to share, to kind of go back into when you felt the realization that it wasn't a fulfilling relationship to you anymore. And I always say that family is blood, but you can always choose your family as well.
Yeah.
What we do every day, being with partners or friends. So I would love for you to share any portion of that you'd like to.
Yeah, so I was raised by a single mom, and, you know, my dad, of course, in my life, but, you know, my mom was my sole caregiver. And on top of that, she was an immigrant. She came here in the 70s from Jamaica, and so she already had my sister. So just that dynamic as growing up in a household as first generation and the cultural differences between Americans and Jamaicans was already a point of contention for us. You know, not that I was a bad kid, but I was a kid and got into trouble and, you know, did things. But we definitely had a different type of bond than her and my sister. I think my sister really struggled because, you know, she, although was born in Jamaica, was raised here. So it was like you had that foundation of what it means to be respectful in a West Indian household versus what is normal for a regular American kid. So that was kind of something that I also struggled with just a little differently. And it probably was, you know, in college or so when I just realized she was one of those emotional vampires, I guess is the best way to say it. She's a narcissist.
Yeah.
And, you know, it was just something that, like, okay, no matter what, just from a respectful Jamaican aspect, it doesn't matter what your parents do to you. You still need to respect them, love them, and that just was not my vibe. I'm like, if you have to give respect to get respect, and it was just always negative. There, any chance she got to like badmouth my sister or myself and spread our business or whatever, she relished in it. And I'm just like, but that's a bad look on you. And so I just decided one day in college that enough was enough. Like, I just couldn't do it anymore. I needed to protect my peace. And so I just stopped communicating completely. You know, and for a while we would like play the telephone game through my sister. My sister and I are 10 years apart too. So like that dynamic was interesting because she's older and is, you know, a mom of 4 girls. And she's just like, well, just respect regardless. And I was like, oh, no. Like, that's just not, no, baby, that's not going to work. So,
I love it.
It was so funny because I remember my youngest niece, who is now, she'll be 18 this year, but she was probably like 4 or 5. And she was like, Brianne, who's your mommy? Because I'm always around at family functions and we would literally be sitting in a room together and not talk, my mother and I. So I was just like, well, they called my mom Lola. Well, Lola's my mommy. Really? Because it then clicked that she had never seen us communicate ever. We would be in the same place, but we never talked. We were literal strangers. So, it was just something that I kept telling my sister. I'm like, you see how your life is no better. And the older I get, I realize that I don't want fake people in my life, and I want people that are going to contribute to my life positively and not stress me out because life is too short for all that BS. So I'm just going to cut you off. And I guess that's my toxic trait, that like, if you piss me off, bye.
We're the same in that way.
Yeah,
Very
like
much
just,
so.
I don't have energy for it. I really
What's
don't.
your sign?
I'm a Cancer.
Okay.
Which I feel like I'm the anti-Cancer because we're supposed to be caregivers, and I'm like, nah, get the hell out of my face.
Well, you are to the people that you want to, who deserve it.
Yeah, but I think also because of how I grew up, I'm just tougher. So and it took me a while to get here. Like, I'm sensitive, but I'm also like, it's hard. I keep my walls high. But I just kept telling my sister, I'm like, you just need to cut her off. Like, every interaction you guys have is negative. You don't have any positive memories or stories, and she doesn't contribute to the girls' lives. She's not this like stereotypical grandparent. She doesn't like kids. So like, it's just not anything positive. So why are you wasting your time? So it was actually, I think my daughter was like 4 or 5 when my sister finally decided to stop talking to my mother.
Wow.
And they are just flourishing, all of them.
Wow.
So when it came time, when I found out I was pregnant, I was freaking out because I'm just like, how am I going to be a mother when I had such a terrible role model? I know how to provide the basics because that's what I feel she did, was made sure I was fed, made sure I was clothed, made sure, I was healthy, relatively, not mentally, but physically healthy.
Who is mentally healthy all the time, at
All
least?
the time, but I mean, that's the things you want for your kids.
Yeah.
And so I went through it. I really had a hard time and had a lot of self-doubt because I'm just like, I don't know if I can do this. And I call it parenting by Google because I'm just like, well, whatever I don't figure out, I'll just Google. Like, that's just the best way to do it. And that's what I did. And now 3 kids later, it still is something I struggle with because...
I'm sure all parents do.
Yeah, like, it's just something like, well, I didn't grow up like this. I didn't do these things because I wasn't allowed or just didn't think to do these things. And kids are different these days, sort of. They're still...
Well, society, I think, is very different.
Yes. But it was just really something that was hard for me in the beginning. But, I just pushed through. And I told my kids because I've asked them. I try not to speak of her negatively because I don't want it to be a final thing that maybe one day they would want a relationship. And I don't want them to go up to her and be like, well, I heard you were a big fat bee.
They can maybe find that out on their own.
Yes. So
well, that's the point. Yeah,
that's the point.
Yeah.
So like, I don't really speak of her negatively. I tell them, well, when things like this, or like if my kids were misbehaving, well, if that were me and I was a kid, this is how my mom reacted. Or they'll be like, well, where is your mom? And I'll tell them like, well, I actually have no idea where she is.
Where is she?
No idea. Somewhere in New Jersey,
maybe.
in Passaic County, maybe,
Yeah,
who knows?
yeah.
But I just try and be as honest with them as possible. They know I don't speak to my mom. My stepmother was very instrumental. My dad actually married twice. My first stepmother had passed away, and she and I were very, very close. It was very, very difficult for me. She died around the time that I actually had decided to stop speaking to my mother.
Wow.
So it was like
Trauma.
really
Terrible,
and unexpected. She had Crohn's and she had surgery, complications and everything. And it was just like really tough. So then, I think a year or 2 years later, he remarried, and his current wife, she is the best grandmother I could ask for my kids. She's the type to get on the floor and play with them. My mother would be like, ew, kids, yuck.
Yeah,
So
and they don't need that negativity.
They don't need that. I want them to have, I look back on my relationships with my grandmothers, and although one, was my Jamaican one, she was a little rough around the edges, but I have fond childhood memories of her. And then my Nana, I love her. She's one of my best friends on my dad's side. She was the lovey-dovey, stereotypical grandma, and that's how my stepmom is with my kids. So I just try and be honest with them, tell them, listen, mommy's life was different. So if I'm struggling parenting you or with my emotions and I'm immediately losing my mind over something that might not be that big of a deal, just give me a little grace. I'm a work in progress, kids, But there was a time when my Jamaican grandmother actually passed away or was dying. So we went to the Bronx. At the time, I just had my daughter, and she was a baby. She was maybe 1.5, 2. And I think that was the only time my mom actually saw my daughter, touched her, and that was it. That was the only time. She's never seen my boys. I know family members have sent her pictures of my kids, but, they would walk down the street and wouldn't know her. I've shown them pictures. I'm not like, oh, look, there's my scary mother. But
you're like, take what you may.
Yes. I'm just like, this is where you come from. So even I don't want them to not have any sense of identity. We even took a trip to Jamaica over the summer because it was important for me to show them this is where your people are from. My mom has one brother who's still there. So we went to his house and, I showed them, this is Uncle Chris and these are his kids. And I hadn't been back in 30 plus years. So it was kind of a home going for me as much as it was to show them this is what I did as a kid when I would come here. And this is your people. These are your roots. And although you don't really have that much of a connection because of XYZ, I still want you to know. So I'm just try to be as open and honest, but it really is just about my own personal self-care and making sure that like I am straight, because I will crumble and I have too much on my plate to crumble. You know, I'm my husband's work schedule's all over the place. I have a full-time business and full-time with my kids. I still consider myself a stay-at-home mom because
Sister, you work all the time.
I am always working. I am so tired.
Same. But when you're a mom, it's just 24/7.
Yeah, man.
From what I hear, I don't know.
From what I hear too. I was just telling my girlfriend last night. I'm having, you know, my daughter is almost 11, so we're deep into.
Oh, she's turning. She's turning.
Those preteen years, I am stressing.
I was horrible. She doesn't mean it. Just always remember.
I don't know. I mean, it's just like, you know, she actually said the age-old, you don't understand me. I was like, what is this, an episode of Saved by the Bell? Like, what is going on? You know, kids, you don't understand kids these days. I was like, you realize, although it was a long time, that
I was your age.
I was your age.
And it was a harder life as well.
So it's just, you know, I'm deep in the throes of preteen life. And I was saying to my girlfriend, I was like, wow, my mom just wasn't around for these kinds of things. So I didn't even act like this.
Wow.
You know, so I said to my daughter, I was like, listen, like, you have a mom that is here and is willing to listen.
Lucky bitch.
Yeah, like, you know, your mom's not working 5,000 jobs.
Get it together.
You know, that's what I say to her. All three of my kids. I'm like, can you just pull yourself together? Like, I don't want.
You're fine.
You're fine.
You're literally fine.
You will live. But I also find myself, because of my trauma, telling my daughter, like, when she's struggling with friends, I'm just like, you need to protect your peace. And of course, I'm coming from a jaded, like, almost 40-year-old perspective of friendships and life in general. But I stand by that. I'm like, you want people in your life that are going to help you flourish and nourish your soul, not somebody that's going to make you feel like shit about yourself. Can I curse?
Yeah.
Okay.
Fuck.
Awesome. Hell yeah. So, and she's just like, okay, mommy. And I'm like, but like, are you hearing me?
No, she's not. But it's not her fault. It's the hormones.
I know. Are they that loud?
They're just like in the ears, I feel like.
Oh, man. It's hard out here.
Wow. That is such a story. And what would you say to somebody who is whoops, sorry, sound. I just hit my heel. Every sound, I'm like, oh, Cass is going to be mad. What would you say to somebody who's in the throes of, who has a parent or a very close relative? Because it's very difficult for people to cut people off, even if they're abusive, physically, mentally, emotionally. What would you say to someone who's like on the brink of cutting someone off? What would you say to them?
I would say know what you can handle. Know your boundaries. What is okay for you to accept from somebody if you still want them in your life. You don't have to just shut them out cold turkey. I'm just a bitch that way. But like, it made my life easy, but it might not work for everybody. So just know what you can handle. Can you handle seeing them sitting like this and just having a super casual, platonic relationship? Do you want to be involved with more of their personal life? I do not. You know, like, I don't want to do that. But that's what I would tell somebody. Like, know what you can handle. And then make sure you make those boundaries clear to that other person, because you might feel that way, but they're not going to feel that way. So just be upfront and honest and, you know, live your best life.
And how they react to that perhaps will also be the
deciding factor. Absolutely.
If they don't respect your boundaries or they don't respect you, that might be something that pushes you towards see ya.
Yeah.
But I've not family members, but I've friends. I've just kind of cold turkeyed them, and they kind of ask my other friends, what happened? And it's like, it's just, you weren't feeding me anymore, and you were bringing me down, and I would get negative thoughts and that kind of stuff. So, and it seems harsh, I'm sure, to some people, but once you do it, it's self-explanatory on why.
Yeah, it was interesting because it kind of cut me off from, like, especially after my grandmother died, it cut me off from, like, my family, like my Jamaican side, and I just started to kind of come around a little bit with certain cousins and things like that. So my one cousin just got married in December, and I literally had blocked most of these people on Facebook because the thing is that my mom would go to them and talk about me, and then they would spread rumors or whatever, and it would get to my sister. My sister's the oldest out of all the grandkids, so she's like the gatekeeper. So she knows everything that's going on. So I would find out things, and I'm like, what the hell? Like, we're cousins. Like,
Yeah.
you're my first friend. Like,
Yeah.
why don't you have my back and not this,
Bitches.
this lady,
Yeah.
So it took me a while to really come around. So this past December, went to my cousin's wedding, and a couple of my cousins were like, hello, stranger. Where have you been? And I'm like, hiding from you, crazy people. Really, actually.
And this is a test, so don't test me right now.
So even today, I got a text from one of my cousins who I hadn't talked to and saw at the wedding, and she invited me to her daughter's Sweet 16, which was nice. But, it's one of those things that I also realize that I have to be very specific with my boundaries for them, because they do have a relationship with my mother and they engage with her and feed into her bullshit, and I can't. So I don't know how much of my life I want to let them into.
Yeah, like you can go to things, but it doesn't necessarily go both ways.
Yeah, no, not at all.
Yeah.
Not yet,
Not
maybe,
yet, yeah.
but no, I don't think I'm that mature. Maybe when I'm 50.
No, I think you're very mature, and that's why you're able to make the decisions
Yeah, I try.
for yourself.
Yeah,
It's
I
the only life. We only have one life to live.
I know, man.
So why waste it with negativity and I hate it. I really do.
Yeah.
Well, we only have 20-minute episodes, which we're probably going to change eventually. But thank you so much for coming. And I have
Yeah.
my 3 last questions.
Okay.
If you were on death row, what would your last meal be?
Ooh. Oh, man.
It's like the hardest question for everyone.
Oh, God. Okay, I think it would have to be. Oh, man. That's tough. It's like it's actually because I am half Jamaican and half
Half chicken
half
parm,
American.
half, yeah.
So my favorite Jamaican dish is oxtail with rice and peas. So I think.
What's your other one? Your potential?
My Nana's mac and cheese. My Nana's from Georgia, so she makes that like soul food mac
Yum.
and cheese.
I
And
want
like
that right now.
Thanksgiving is my favorite holiday. But man, I can throw down on some oxtail and rice and peas. That's like my.
It would be a last-minute decision.
Oh yeah, I'll be like, don't flip the switch yet, guys. I'm still trying to figure it out. I don't know.
Yeah. And then the next question is, what is your biggest fear in life?
Currently, because I think I turned 40 in July.
Looking fucking fabulous.
And I am struggling. So I've been feeling my mortality a lot lately, and I'm really scared of dying. Like,
Are you?
really scared of
What
dying.
What makes you scared?
The pain, the unknown, how I'm gonna go, who's going to take care of my kids. I mean, obviously my husband if I go before him, but I won't. If I do, I'll haunt him forever. It's fine. But yeah, it's just the unknown, I think.
Yeah.
And just, I don't know. I'm like, God, I'm so much closer to death. It's 40. Like, what is wrong with me?
Midlife crisis. I'm
is
35,
it.
so maybe I'm dying at 70 because
Oh.
this is the first year I've ever felt old.
Yeah.
Ever.
Like I feel old. 30, I loved 30. And I think I'm like really sad because my 30s, I got married at 28, had my daughter 28, almost 29, and then my 30s, like I just had kids and lived life and everything and started my business in my 30s, and that was the best decade. So much.
They
so
always
much fun.
say that, yeah.
And now 40, like what the hell do I have to look forward to? Teenagers. Yuck.
I'll let your husband deal with that.
I mean, he's even older, so goodness.
So you have to help
Sucks
him.
for him. I had to bring him to the retirement home soon. Like, there's just so much going on. God.
Oh my God. And the next question is, or the last question is, I don't believe in regrets, but is there anything that you do look back on that you would maybe change, or that you kind of think back and you're like,
I don't know. Maybe college, actually. I think college, because I'm still paying for it and,
going to college?
paying for going to college
Yeah.
and don't use anything that I studied. Went to school initially for communication. I started at Willie P. and then transferred to Rutgers and did sociology. Like, the hell? Had nothing to do with what I wanted to do.
Yeah.
And so it was just like a waste of time. So we even tell our kids, like, don't, like, unless you know what you want to do not waste your time with
Totally
college.
agree.
Like, find a trade, find a job, work for a little bit, and then figure it out. we're not pushing that because it's just, my husband, same issue. Like, he felt forced into things, and now he has a great job. He's a flight nurse for the state medevac.
I mean, thank you for his service.
Yeah, like, it's the coolest job, but it took him forever to get
So he
here.
went to, like, second career, went back to school, or?
No, what he initially went to school, he initially went pre-med.
Okay.
And then failed miserably because his heart wasn't
so
in it. It's so
freaking
hard
too, yeah.
Yeah, so then he graduated with his BS in science or biology, and then got his master's in public health, and then went on to nursing school, and now he's like, Top Gun nurse edition.
Yeah. I think our parents and that real age group is like, you go to college, you do X, Y, Z, and I feel like even the kids who are being born now, I always say, I don't know what college is going to be in 18, 20 years. And we don't know what we want at that age. I think you should go to college at like 25, 30, personally. Yeah,
I agree.
And I think that it is going to change, especially the cost. I mean,
it's stupid expensive.
and it's like half the classes you don't need. And I am also doing something I did not go to school for.
Yeah.
And it's just super interesting. So again, thank you for being on the podcast. You're going to help somebody and really inspire someone today, which is super exciting. And I swear we'll have a boy on. We're only a girl, boys and girls. We'll have a man on soon. There is someone in the pipeline. But just be yourself. Surround yourself with people who fill your cup. And if they take anything out of your cup, then
dump that cup.
Yeah.
Dump it.
If you want to stay in touch with them, and don't feel guilt if they're family or their blood, because you choose your own family.
Yeah, 1000%.
Awesome. And as always, keep it juicy. Thank you for listening to this episode of Keeping It Juicy. You can find this episode and all the rest on YouTube, Spotify, and Apple. And as always, don't forget, keep it juicy.